Hey, everyone, it's me, Jen, and I thought I would go live today to talk about something that the media has been asking me about, and friends and clients have been asking about. So I figured I would just do a kind of a culmination. It's easier to talk about than to write about. So if you're listening to this, you're probably on my personal page. So you know me as Jen Kem. Some of you know me as the CEO of Master Brand Institute, where we help small business owners get seen, heard, and paid more for being themselves. And the main thing, as Forbes' top brand strategist, I am really fascinated with why people buy, um, what they're attracted to, how pop culture and politics influence people's behavior. And if anything has been proven the past couple years, those two things really, really have influenced people's binary debates. Speaking of the binary, this is something that I want to address when it comes to three beloved brands: Peloton, Minnie Mouse, and M&Ms. So, what do the three of them have in common? Well, they're getting a lot of media attention this past week because of big changes. So the summary is Peloton just laid off 2,800 employees. They fired their CEO. He's actually not really fired. He's getting promoted to executive chair of the board, but he's being taken out of his seat because of big problem that they have, which is they lost 80% of their value on the stock market this week. 80%. That's huge. That signals investors big time. And there's an argument that Peloton isn't really a company. Peloton is a brand, but it's not a company. And so it's become a target for potential acquisition by Nike, Amazon, and even Apple is talking about acquiring them as a media asset. So what does this mean for small business? Because you're like, well, I love Peloton too. I mean, I own one. I was one of the early adopters. I'm obsessed with my Peloton. My favorite instructors are Robin, Cody, and I would say Allie. But I really like pay attention to Cody and Robin. And this has a lot to do with small business because I think the biggest problem that I see is that everybody talks about scaling. And first of all, if you're not making a certain revenue amount, you can't even scale. Scaling is not the goal of somebody who, or a company that is definitely less than $1 million a year, but possibly more than that. It's a ridiculous concept to think that scaling is your number one priority. And that's proportionately true for a company with the perceived size as Peloton. Peloton has they have a brand, they have a huge cult following. Again, I'm one of those cultists, but there's an argument for just like the Away brand, like the luggage brand Away. Is it really something that operationally can scale? And what's been proven with Peloton, they opened a bunch of retail stores. They were building a warehouse facility to build their own bikes and treadmills in Ohio that they halted. So they have all that sunk cost built in. And then they had this media fiasco with the reboot of Sex and the City called And Just Like That, which I think, even though they had a clapback, was still a hot mess and that they didn't manage that opportunity well. So again, the point of this live stream is to tell you when I'm remarking on this stuff to the media, pointing out how these corporate strategies actually affect consumer behavior, which affects small business behavior, whether you think so or not. I mean, I came from the corporate world, and left it and became an entrepreneur myself 15 years ago. And I can tell you that part of the reason I have success and my clients have success is because I adopt the right corporate strategies and apply that to our small business. And I think a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs don't adopt those strategies, and they also don't heed the warnings that come from big companies like Peloton to scale too early, too fast, too soon, and then become not profitable and disappoint investors in Peloton's case, and in our case, as small business owners ourselves, because we're the ones funding the business, right? Or our business partners. All right, so there's Peloton. Now let's talk about Minnie Mouse and M&Ms, because it's actually a different thing that I think all of us who are consider ourselves modern, evolved, care about making sure that commerce is integrous and dignified, right? And that we are moving away or wanting to move away the old rules of capitalism and build something that includes the opportunity to build wealth for other people. And when we say other people, all people. And M&Ms and Minnie Mouse or Disney made a big signal to consumers this week. Minnie Mouse is now dressed in a pantsuit by Stella McCartney, which I think it's Stella McCartney. If you don't know who Stella McCartney is, she's a big-time designer out of Britain. She is Paul McCartney's daughter, but she's definitely just as famous on her own, and she only uses eco-friendly fashion. So she doesn't use any leather products. Basically, all her products are vegan or upcycled or like organic cottons, etc. So anyway, Minnie Mouse is now wearing a pantsuit. She has never worn pants in her life from the beginning that she was created by Disney. And the M&Ms, one of the M&M characters who is female or was female in old advertising is now no longer wearing high heels. They are wearing really cool sneakers that are very fashion forward, and they are not focused on the binary of male or female. They're inclusive. And so what does this mean for small business? I think that if you follow me and you know our company has always stood for justice, equity, and inclusion. We did that before it was cool. I'm Filipino. My entire staff, we have such a diverse staff of all genders and all colors, shapes, and sizes. I'm really proud of that. And I think it's really important right now that if you're not looking at how your marketing is more inclusive as a small business, unless you don't care about that and you want to go the other route, which is holding firm to the old way of presenting gender and race and size, you're going to be left behind. But the other thing about it is, I think what's really important is you got to do it authentically and you got to be educated. And so there are a lot of amazing opportunities online to learn from people. My favorite is Trudy LeBron, who is a friend and a client. She has a certification program you might want to check out to learn how to lead in the new way of business from a justice perspective. And there are quite a few others, but I think the key is to find somebody who's done this for a long time and that you're not doing it just because you want to stay modern. I think you have to do it to stay modern, but you're doing it because you understand that this is the world that we live in and where we're going. And when bigger companies like Disney and like M&Ms make it very clear that they are going to include people, it's something you need to be thinking about too. So anyway, these are some of the things that I've been talking about with the media this week and remarking on. And again, I felt like I should just share it with my people. Feel free to share it with anybody that you think would be interested in it. And most of all, I'd love to hear from you. What other brands are you seeing making strides like this? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like they're being authentic? Do you feel like they're actually doing it because they feel like it's something they want to do, or are they doing it because they should do it? And what are some questions that you have about modernizing your business and your brand in a way that doesn't look like you're just trying to do it to not be canceled? Because it's very scary now with cancel culture, right? I mean, when I say it's very scary, I'm not scared of it. It's very real. And it can be scary for people who are worried that they're tiptoeing. And I think the key is to be brave and say, hey, I don't know everything, but what I do know is I want to include all the people. And I also don't want to be stupid and scale so fast that I lose sight of my profit and I lose sight of my employees' future and I lose sight of the impact that I want to make in the world, like Peloton is currently doing. And again, I love Peloton. I actually hope that they stay independent. I don't want them to be absorbed by Nike, Apple, or Amazon. But if one of them absorbs them, I'd like it to be Apple, just because I think that the technology piece is very cool. And I'm an Adidas girl. So I'd like for Robin and Cody and Allie still to be able to have their Adidas contracts because that would be taken away from them if they got bought by Nike. So I have my own personal biases, but I also I'm thinking about their personal brands because there's never been more of a time where personal brands have so much influence as now because of social media. So, the Peloton instructors have their own personal followings as a result of their work with Peloton. And so they have equity and skin in the game too. So anyway, I want you to also be thinking about how your personal brand potentially gets affected by this as well. So with that said, I hope this has been helpful. If it is, please remark below and I'll do more of these if you want me to. I do it on Instagram a lot. So if you're on Instagram, follow me at jennifer.chem. So whenever I'm in my car on my way to my office, I do some type of like drive and talk. So if you want to hear more, you can go over there. All right, talk soon.